Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I am so glad you're here with me for today's video on managing your wardrobe during weight loss. This is something I have come to know quite a bit about. If you've been following along with me, I've lost about 180 pounds over the last 3 years. So this is a topic I have become pretty well versed in. I asked you guys if this is something you would want me to do a little bit more of a deep dive video on, and you said yes. So that's what we're going to tackle today. By no means am I an expert on this topic. I'm certainly not a medical or healthcare professional. Everything that I share with you really just comes from what I am drawing on in my own life and my own experiences, but they are not all encompassing. Everybody has their own things they like to do, their own ways that they like to do it. So there's no right or wrong in any of this. I'm just here to share what I have done, what has been helpful for me, in the hopes that it might help you. Now, we are, of course, going to get into clothing and fashion and style, but I think we have to start with something that's even more important, and that is the psychology of it all. That is what's happening in your mind and in your heart, because those play a really big role in how you see yourself. And honestly, if I'm being completely transparent, even now to this day, I will take one look at a piece of clothing that I have ordered and I will be like, there's no way that's going to fit me. There's no way that's going on my body. And then surprise, it fits me. Our minds are often slow to catch up to what is happening with our bodies. And so if you are struggling with that, you're not alone. That is actually quite common. Happens to the best of us. And it's just, I think, a part of the process for a lot of people. So you will often feel like you need to order a larger size than what you actually do. So a couple things to go along with this whole thought process is that even if your mind is slow to catch up, and even if your mind doesn't believe what is happening with your body, there's a couple things you can do if you feel comfortable with it. You can take pictures as you go to document the journey, document your progress. Sometimes that is really helpful for people to see kind of what is happening in a photograph, because when you're seeing it in the mirror, you just don't see it. You could also hold on to maybe one item of clothing that you can periodically try on to see how it's fitting, to see where it's at. You could even take a picture in that piece of clothing if you need to be able to see it visually that way, to note the changes. So those are a couple of things that you could do just to kind of be able to visually make sense of what is happening and believe and accept what is happening. But I would also say when you are doing some shopping, if you go to make a purchase, maybe order a couple of sizes if that's something you can do financially, if that makes sense for you, so that you can kind of compare two sizes and see where you're at, send the other one back. You can, if you have someone that you really trust and feel comfortable with, you can take someone with you to a dressing room, because oftentimes, like, I do this with my mom. I'll be like, I don't know, mom, I don't know, I feel like maybe I need to size up. And she's like, you don't. You don't need to size up. In fact, maybe you should size down, So if you have that trusted person who can go through that part of the journey with you, those are all things that are so helpful. I think this is the part of the journey. This is the part of the process we don't talk about enough. So learning to accept what is, finding some tools to help yourself kind of gradually see the differences, and then order your clothes accordingly. Your body is changing, your body is different, and you probably do need that smaller size. I told you all, if I did make this video, this was going to be high up on my list of suggestions. So here it is. Drawstring waists are a lifesaver. I know that sounds so silly, but when you are losing weight, when you are going through that process, you're trying to hold on to things for as long as you can, because most of us don't have the ability to just go out and buy something new, every month. We can't replace a wardrobe every month. And sometimes our body changes enough that, like, we are going through significant loss and changes that are making our clothes fit differently at a pretty quick pace. I mean, everyone's different. That doesn't necessarily happen to everyone, but that can be a very real thing that people deal with. So when you choose a drawstring waist, it just means you can wear it for quite a bit longer, because as you get smaller, you just draw that waist in a little bit tighter. You can cut strings if you need to. There's a lot you can do to make that work longer than something with a button and zipper. And the great thing is, nowadays, you can buy dress pants, sweatpants, jeans. There's a lot of pant options out there that have a drawstring waist. In fact, I don't know that I've ever seen as many drawstring waist options as I have today. Maybe that's just because that's what I look for first. But that really helped me with being able to wear things longer. In fact, I'm thinking in particular of a pair of Old Navy sweatpants. I loved it. I had the bottoms and a matching top. And when I felt like I didn't know what to wear, that was something I could throw on, and it was a matched set, and I felt a little more pulled together. And those sweatpants I wore so long because I could keep cinching in that waist. So obviously it doesn't work forever. You will get to a point where it's going to be too big and it's going to look too big, but man, you want to talk about stretching your dollar on an item in your closet? That is one of my biggest tips and was a total game changer in making my wardrobe go further while losing weight. So when I make videos like this, I tend to get a lot of questions about what I've done, how I've done it, who I'm using for certain things. So I wanted to stop really quick and talk about that for just a minute. I'm a patient with Mochi Health. I have been for quite some time. My primary care doctor is where I started this journey with using tirzepatide, which is a GLP-1, and that was phenomenal. Loved that. She was in support of it, helped me out so much, but it got to a point where I just could not afford it anymore because my insurance doesn't cover it. So I started looking for other options, and I landed on Mochi Health because it seemed like they were the most affordable. Reached out to a friend who I know uses them. She also vouched for them, for their care, for all of it. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And my primary care doctor knows that. She's fine with it. That's a question I get a lot. She totally knows. And so I switched privately to them, never really said anything about it. And they reached out to me several months later, asked if I would be interested in partnering. And I said yes, because this is what I'm doing. Whether there's a partnership or not, this is where I get my medication. I put my faith and trust in them every single month. So I have enjoyed being a patient with them. It's worked out really well for me, and the cost has been just far below what I was ever paying before. So I do have a code. You can choose to use it. You certainly don't have to. I will put that code on the screen and down below in the description box, along with a link to go check out Mochi Health. You have a doctor that oversees everything, so it's not the wild, wild west. There is a real doctor. They have really compassionate, caring people. There's dietitians if you need help with that. They offer a lot of other services outside of GLP-1s and weight loss. So if you want to learn more about them, certainly go check them out. If you want to use the code, by all means do so. It'll save you $40 on your membership fee. And as always, I love that you guys put your faith and trust in me. I value my integrity more than anything. So everything I'm telling you is true and from the bottom of my heart, but I'm also a stranger on the internet. So do your research, do your homework, do what feels right for you. This is what has been really helpful for me in being able to afford and sustain something that has changed my life. So as always, you can go down to the description box and read more and find out about Mochi Health. So this is a really fun part of the video where I get to brag on someone I love so much, and that is my mom. My mom has lost well over 100 pounds. She basically was at a point where they're like, hey, you're a type 2 diabetic. Your A1C is way too high. And honestly, my grandma, also a type 2 diabetic. So as you can see, there was, just a matter of time before that was going to be the same thing that happened to me. So my mom has also been on tirzepatide to help manage her A1C, and she has lost a lot of weight. And my mom's a teacher, so hopefully, I think she says this is her last year, and then she's going to come work with me. We'll see what happens. But she has to get dressed for work every day. She has to be professional. She's in a classroom, so she can't wear, just any old thing. And so my mom has been the queen of thrifting. So buying secondhand in any way that you can is always a great option when you are on a journey like this. My mom has been able to acquire so many great quality things. J. Crew, Ann Taylor, Loft. She's the queen of the thrift store. And one thing I will say is if you're going to start thrifting and trying to Find new pieces for your wardrobe. Most thrift stores will have kind of a day where there's deals and discounts. So like our Goodwill, for example, every Monday they have one color of tag that's $1.29, and they have another color of tag where everything's 50% off. So you better believe every Monday after work, my mom's at the Goodwill seeing what they've got. I would say the most commonly asked question that I get from people is, what should I be replacing and replenishing? What should I hold off on buying? What is that process supposed to look like? And the answer is it's very different for everyone. Some people are going to a corporate office while they're on a weight loss journey. Some people are retired. Some people work from home. It really does look different depending on your age and stage and phase of life. And so I think you have to really take that into consideration. A general rule of thumb that I followed and still follow is that if it's a one-of-a-kind item, a statement piece, maybe it's a really big investment piece, let's say a coat, for example, that's something you would probably spend quite a bit of money on. Those are the things I'm going to hold off on buying. Or if I do buy something like that, maybe I'm going to see if I can find a look for less version. I'm not going to make a really big financial investment in a piece of clothing while I'm on this journey. I'm going to hold off on those things. But one area where you can really get strategic is by thinking about the season you're in, the sales that are going on. And so you can really use that as a way to replace and replenish the things that you need and do it the most cost-effective way possible if you can't thrift or buy secondhand. So I would think about, what do you really need in your wardrobe? When it comes time to replace or replenish something, what are your most worn items? What are the things you can't be without? What are your version of having basics? For some people, that's going to be dress pants. That's their basic because they need those in their life every day to wear to work. For someone like me, my basics look like matching sets or, really great black leggings. Those are going to be my basics. And so think about, maybe if you were used to buying your slacks at Dillard's or Nordstrom, maybe you bump down to an Old Navy retailer or something similar and shop the sales, right? There are so many times throughout the year where Old Navy does everything for 50% off. And they are someone who always has suiting. They have blazers, they have dress pants, they have really great blouses. And so maybe while you are in this phase of losing weight, your strategy is to find out when Old Navy is doing their sales, and when you need to replace something, think about that key item you're going to wear the most and go get it at that really great price. That is the strategy that I would use when deciding what to buy and what to wait on. One of the questions that I answered recently over on Instagram was about, what basics should I have? What are the items that I should have in my wardrobe? And again, like I said, with everything else, this is so personal to each individual and where they're at in their life. But I think you can never go wrong with having basic tees, white, black, maybe a stripe if you like a stripe, a black bottom, a denim bottom, a really great long line cardigan is a fantastic option. A matching set is always really good to have because you can wear it together, break it up, dress it down. Those really key pieces that you can stretch, those things that you can remix and restyle, those are the things I would have in my closet at all times. Maybe right now is not the time to go buy this crazy printed blouse that only goes with this specific color of pant, but having some of those staples in neutral colors, that's really where you're going to be able to mix and match and create new outfits. This is a great time to become an accessory gal if you're not. I am, and I always was, regardless of, weight loss. Changing up a scarf or a belt or a shoe and kind of having fun with that part, that can really help, especially if you're getting bored and you're like, God, I would really like to go shopping, but I feel like I can't. Have some fun with accessories. And a belt is a great thing to have in your closet because you don't have to spend a lot of money on a belt. You can get one from Amazon or Walmart or Target. You can spend a little bit on a belt and kind of prolong and extend the life of maybe a blouse that's getting too big or a dress that's getting too big. And speaking of blouses and dresses, smocking, as much as I love to recommend a waistband that has a drawstring, I also love to recommend a smocked blouse or a smocked dress because smocking is one of those magical materials. It expands and it contracts. So I found that things that I owned that had, you know, a smocked bodice, man, I could wear those for so much longer than other things in my closet. So make some Pinterest boards, take screenshots, follow along with your favorite creators, save those things that you're maybe, you know, having on a wish list of like, I'd like to find a great replacement for this thing I used to love that doesn't fit. Keep all of that on your phone. And then that way, when you're in the thrift store or you're at your favorite retailer and you see a really great sale, you can have it right there at the ready and go back and say, okay, that was something that I decided I need to replenish in my wardrobe. It's time to spend the money, and you can kind of stay organized and not let it get away from you. I hope that this information is helpful. I know this is a big journey. It is a big undertaking to think about how to not just revamp your whole wardrobe, but revamp your whole life in some ways. There's a lot that goes into this. It can be a roller coaster of a process, but I promise you can do anything you set your mind to. And I hope you know that if no one else is cheering for you, I certainly am. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Bye.